Well, Sappi, North America's pulp and paper mill in Cloquet, has been a fixture in the region for more than 120 years. Sappi has modernized the plant in recent years, investing tens of millions of dollars to upgrade and create more markets for the mill. In December, the company announced a new manager of the mill who began working at the facility back in 1994. Joining us now is Tom Radovich, Managing Director of Sappi North America's Cloquet Mill. Welcome, Tom. Thanks for being here. Great to have you on the program tonight. Congratulations on your promotion. You literally kind of grew up at the plant professionally. Tell us about that.
That's true. Yes, I started the plant in 1994, like you had mentioned, as an intern. You never expect to be at this position like this. Always trying to establish what your ceiling is, but in a lot of ways I started off just as a process engineer. I have a graduate of the University of Minnesota Paper Science and Engineering program, and the facility's been really good to me. I started off at Potlatch, and we obviously had a change of ownership in 2002 when Sappi acquired the mill, and from there it's really just been a progression of a lot of different roles, filling in as an operations superintendent for about 10 years, running the two paper machines, and so from there you move into capital projects where you get involved in some different investments, and so the company always invests in your training and development in your career. I've been the technical manager in the paper mill for a couple of years, and then moved on to the paper mill manager, which was my previous role before finally getting into this role. And so it's been a great adventure. I tell people that you don't get to where you're at without a lot of help from a lot of other people, and so the people at the mill that supported me through the years really makes a big difference.
I imagine most of the people who are watching are familiar with the mill itself, but maybe might not be as familiar with Sappi and what your primary products and markets are. So give us a little primer on that.
Yeah, so Sappi, a lot of times when you think about the Cloquet mill, it's associated with a paper mill, but it's a lot more than that. And so Sappi is basically a company based out of Johannesburg, South Africa, and they're a global company. They have mills that are in South Africa, of course, but they also have 9 mills that are actually in Europe, so we have a big exposure in Europe. And then, of course, in North America, we actually have 3 mills. We have our own mill here in Cloquet, but we also have a big mill that's in Skowhegan, Maine, which is about 2 hours north of South Portland. We also have the Westbrook Mill that's kind of a suburb of the South Portland area. And then we have a technology center there. We have research and scientists that actually help support the mills. Our corporate office is based out of Boston. And when you look at Sappi is really a diversified forest products company. And so they're into a lot of different products, and it's really about what can you do with the tree. And so at our site, we actually make 3 products. We actually make graphic papers, what most people are associated with, the high-end papers that are for catalogs and brochures, direct mail that you would get. But we also, in 2013, we made a huge investment, like Dennis had mentioned, where we invested $175 million to change our craft pulp mill to dissolving wood pulp. And so we make a brand of dissolving wood pulp called Verve. That product is actually used, it's a raw material used to make rayon, which is used in textiles, pharmaceutical products and stuff like that. And it's been a very good product for us. Sappi has got a very good footprint when it comes to dissolving wood pulp. They have about 19% of the world market in dissolving wood pulp, and we're continuing to expand in that market.
Tom, what challenges face your plant?
Like a lot of forest products companies, you hear a lot of announcements of mill closures. I think a lot of times people maybe don't realize that, when you cross 33 there and you look to the east and you see this great big facility, I think the thought is that, there's no way you can't make money, and that's not the truth. In forest products, we have very, very small margins. It's a very capital intensive company and industry. We have the same challenges that small businesses do, where you see health care costs and benefits increasing, and so in order to run a facility like that, you also have to have very skilled workers. We're very fortunate in this area to have very skilled employees that we have to retain, but that costs quite a bit of money.
Yeah.
And so as a result, you always are challenged day by day to be able to make money and to keep a good cash flow. And so that really is true with most forest products companies, is that the margins aren't as big as what people might think that they are.
It sounds like Sappi has pretty high confidence in the Cloquet facility and the people there.
They do. You know, when Sappi acquired the mill in 2002, you know, there's a lot of uncertainty, and certainly with the two unions that we have about what the plans were for the plant. They've done a lot of investment in the plant. They've looked at it as kind of a hallmark to the proper way to invest and to get the return on their investment. And so they keep coming back, because the one thing that we do is we execute well when it comes to large capital investments. And so if you look at a $175 million capital project, there's a lot to that, and to be able to do things on time and under budget and get the results from the investment is really critical. And we've been able to do that over the years.
How many workers are there, Tom, and how are you involved in the community? How is Sappi involved in Cloquet?
So at our site, we have about 700 employees, roughly. From a community standpoint, obviously, you know, the impact that we have overall for just beyond Cloquet, if you look at it, we support roughly 200 logging companies. I don't think people realize that every day there's between 300 and 400 trucks that deliver wood to the facility. If you look at how much wood is harvested in the state of Minnesota, it's on the order of about 2.5 million cords of wood. Out of that 1 million of it comes to our site. And so, you know, our influence on the community is substantial, both from a financial standpoint. For example, if you look at the wood that we get is all from private landowners, you know, that really encompasses an area roughly about 400 miles from the mill. Most of the wood, though, comes from an area of about 100 miles from the mill. The wood that we buy provides about $30 million to private landowners in the area, and so it has a big impact financially to the overall community beyond just Cloquet. When you look at Cloquet, we get involved in a lot of nonprofit. We give back to the community in that way. We're very supportive of the hospital. When Sappi acquired the mill in 2002, they made a very large donation to the local hospital. We continue to actually have a very good relationship with the hospital.
Are you finding an adequate quantity of good wood here in the region?
Yes, just to answer that, that's we do. One of the challenges, however, is if you look at the products that we make, it's very important to actually have wood that's been certified, and that's been more of a challenge. The wood actually has to have FSC certification, and which is a Forestry Stewardship Council. It's kind of an organization that establishes, you know, which wood can be harvested from a sustainability standpoint, and to be especially in dissolving wood pulp within that market, the customer expects you to be a good steward of the surrounding surrounding land that you own, and so that's probably the biggest challenge, is to find FSC certified wood. You'd find that pretty much with really any forest products company in the area.
Tom, what kind of competition do you face?
Oh, it's very broad. I mean, certainly with our dissolving wood pulp, our Verve product, it's a global competition. And the product that we make actually gets sent overseas and to areas into India where most of the conversion occurs. And so you're competing with companies on a global scale. And so the pricing is really dictated a lot by what's happening with the market in China. You know, if you look at textiles and you look at clothing and stuff like that, it's really driven by increases in population, and that's really where you see the increases is in India and in Asia. And so they really dictate the market in a lot of ways. And so you've got this small little community in Cloquet that relies on that market, and so it can be a real challenge.
You talked about sustainability and the importance of being respectful to the environment. I think historically, pulp and paper mills have maybe been thought of as big polluters. Is that changing? Is the industry really cleaning itself up?
It is, and you're right. If you go back into the 60s and 70s, really the pulp and paper industry have actually made a transformation, is what I would consider it, when it comes to the environmental impact that it's had. A lot of the issues you had with water quality are completely different. The processes that we use are completely different in terms of the chemistries that we use. Investing in sustainable practices. And so if you look at our company, we actually have a director of sustainability in our corporate office. Each site has a sustainability ambassador. There's certain goals that we establish to reduce energy, to reduce water use, to reduce waste. If you look at our site, when you talk about greenhouse gas emissions, our site has the lowest greenhouse gas emissions of pretty much any facility that size in North America.
Well, you're certainly far more than a paper mill, but
That's
is the
correct,
paper
yeah.
market still strong?
I would say it's declining, especially for the products, the graphic products that we make, both for the coated products as well as coated mechanical products that you have. And part of that is just the change into the digital, the digital age, the digital media that you get. And so it's had to reinvent itself, is what I would say. And so we're, at our facility, we're looking at moving out of that market to some extent. One of the products that we started making just a few years ago is a product called Luster Coat. It's actually a litho-laminate and encompasses about 10% of our total production. And what it is it's actually, when you go into a retail store and you buy something that is out in the aisleway, that's in a cardboard box, they try to grab your attention to different things. If you look at that product, it's a cardboard base, but then there's a laminate that's put on there that's printed on, and we actually make that laminate. So it's really more of a packaging product, and that's actually a growing segment. And so that's one of the things that we're always doing, is we're always looking at some different products that we can offset the decline in graphics.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
We just have about 30 seconds left, but you started as an intern. Are there still opportunities for young people to come into the paper and pulp industry these days?
Absolutely. If you like to problem solve, I tell people, people ask me, about engineering, especially working at a manufacturing site. If you like to problem solve, it's a great place to work. We actually have co-ops that we have both on our pulp and paper side. So yes, there's a lot of opportunities.
Wonderful.
All right.
Tom Radovich, Sappi Cloquet. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you. It's a
Appreciate
pleasure
you
being here.